You don't need another morning of feeling behind. You don't need another pump-up song, another to-do list, or another notebook with "You can do it" stamped on the cover. What you need is a reset, not of your schedule, but of your inner system. Because the truth is, you're not broken. But the way you've been running your mind, overloaded, misaligned, pulled in every direction but your own, needs a pause. This video won't promise you success in 30 days. Instead, it offers something deeper, a mirror to see yourself clearly, and a mental framework grounded in Stoic philosophy. The same mindset that shaped some of the sharpest minds and strongest spirits over the past 2,000 years. Stoicism doesn't make you cold. It makes you calm in the chaos. It teaches you how to feel deeply without being ruled by your feelings. How to stand firm, not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. You want to change your life's direction? Don't start with action. Start with your mindset. Reset from within. From this morning. Starting right here. Starting with you. Number 1. The operating modes of the mind. Every morning you wake up, your eyes open, your hand reaches for your phone, and your mind starts drifting, as if it's running an old, pre-installed program. You think you're awake, but really, you're just continuing yesterday, or last week, or even the last few years. It's not that you chose to think this way. It's that you've never truly chosen at all. The human brain runs in 2 modes, default and deliberate. The default mode is autopilot. It's driving to work without remembering how you got there. It's answering someone without truly hearing them. According to researcher Dan Gilbert, our minds wander in this mode for 46.9% of the day. That means nearly half of your life is lived unconsciously, on repeat. What's worse, most of those patterns were shaped by anxiety, inconsistency, and the silent conditioning of your environment. Stoic philosophy doesn't say this state is evil. It only becomes dangerous when you let it steer the wheel without realizing you've handed it over. Imagine your mind as a train without a conscious driver. It follows old tracks. Fear, procrastination, insecurity, and the craving for quick comfort. But if you reset your operating system, if you retrain your brain to know what matters, that same train can still run automatically. Only now, it takes you somewhere worth going. This isn't theory. It's what Roman warriors, emperors, and Stoic philosophers practiced. Marcus Aurelius, even in the chaos of war and court conspiracies, began each day writing to himself. Not lofty declarations, but clear reminders to stay awake. When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. None of them can hurt me. That's how he switched from default to deliberate. No reacting out of instinct. No emotions behind the wheel. Each morning, he rewrote his mental code. Deliberate mode isn't about hype or temporary motivation. It's your ability to guide your thoughts. It's when you pause and ask, did this thought come from me or from a fear I picked up when I was 15? It's when you stop mid-argument and choose not to lash out from a bruised ego. It's when you sit alone in silence and don't feel empty. That's real power, the power to rule yourself. But here's what you need to know. You won't live in deliberate mode 24/7. You don't have to. The goal isn't to control every thought. It's to train your brain to choose better ones automatically. Think of it like rewriting the source code of your operating system. Once it's set, your subconscious can run the show and run it well. You won't have to force positive thinking. Your brain will naturally default to what helps. You won't have to grit your teeth to be disciplined. Action will feel aligned because your system has been rewritten to work that way, and you can start now. No need for a 1-hour meditation or daily journaling ritual. Just pause 3 times a day and ask, what program am I running right now? If you don't write the code for your mind, don't be surprised when it keeps running an old version of someone you no longer want to be. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Freedom isn't the absence of chains. It's having control over the system that drives you. And to gain that control, it's not enough to observe your thoughts. You have to replace them. Because if your internal program is rooted in fear, limitation, or self-sabotage, no matter how well you steer, it'll always take you back to the same swamp. In the next lesson, we'll take an even deeper step, replacing negative thoughts and limiting habits. You'll learn how to rewrite the deepest source code of your mind. But before you rewrite, you have to be willing to delete. Are you ready? Number 2, break free from negative loops. Most of us don't step into a new day. We step into an old loop, a pre-programmed mindset, outdated lessons, unhealed wounds, misunderstood failures. The danger? You don't even realize you're being controlled, like a self-driving train heading the wrong way because someone else mapped the route years ago. And you're still sitting there, thinking you're in charge. Some believe they'll never succeed because as a child, their mother once said, "People like us aren't meant to achieve great things." Others carry the weight of feeling unlovable because someone walked away when they were 17. And maybe you, like many, live each day with a quiet, persistent belief. I'm not enough. These beliefs aren't rooted in truth. They're rooted in repetition. The brain doesn't fact-check thoughts that show up often enough. It labels them as truth and activates them every time you face a challenge. That's how limiting beliefs take hold. What's truly frightening isn't where these beliefs come from. It's how they work. Quietly, consistently, on repeat. Limiting mindsets aren't born from reality. They're born from repetition. Repeating criticism, repeating fear, repeating disappointment, until you end up in a closed loop, constantly proving yourself right. See, I told you I couldn't do it. But that's not the truth. That's just a broken program running unchecked. That's why, thousands of years ago, Stoic philosophers warned us about the power and danger of thought. Epictetus said, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them." And the way we think isn't always a conscious choice. More often, it's a hand-me-down, inherited from fear, frustration, and careless words. Try this now. Write down a sentence you silently tell yourself when you're feeling low. Maybe it's, "I'm not good enough. I'm too old. I'll never make it." Then ask yourself, what does this belief cost me? How many chances did I not take because of it? How many moments did I stay silent when I should have spoken up? And the most important question, if I keep this belief for 5 more years, who will I become? One entrepreneur once said it took him 20 years to break free from a phrase his father repeated throughout his childhood. "We're not winners." Just 7 words, yet enough to make him reject every leadership role in his youth. It wasn't until he started recording new thoughts, listening to them every morning, and writing down every moment he acted despite fear that he realized. The real power lies in the quiet voices we let run the show. You won't erase negative beliefs overnight. It's like learning to write with your non-dominant hand. Awkward and unnatural at first. But each time you replace "no one loves me" with "the right people will love me," you're reprogramming. Each time you switch "I'm too old" to "I have valuable experience," you're rewriting mental code. At first it feels fake, but keep at it, and it becomes real. Eventually, your brain will accept the new script as the default. The problem isn't that you once thought negatively. The real issue is that you never paused to ask, is there another way to think? That simple question can start a chain reaction of transformation if you dare to live by it. Mindset shifts don't come from speeches or self-help books. They come in the quiet moments when you question your old operating system and begin to replace it with words you write, speak, and act on. Not because you want to fake positivity, but because you want to choose your lens instead of being forced to look through someone else's. And if you're ready to rewrite your inner narrative, it's time to look at where most negative thoughts begin: the past. Because no one builds a new home while still living in the old one. In the next part, you'll learn how to break free from past-based thinking, so the past no longer gets a vote in the future you're creating. Number 3, stop replaying the past. Most people don't wake up in the present moment. They wake up in the past. They open their eyes, and within seconds, their mind replays yesterday's arguments, last year's heartbreak, or a distant failure that still stings. These memories don't return quietly. They crash in, bringing the same old emotions: anxiety, regret, resentment. And just like that, the new day begins. But it isn't new. It's a rerun of yesterday's mindset, just wearing fresh clothes. Memory isn't just a picture. It's emotion, hormones, and chemistry. Each time you revisit a moment from the past, your body doesn't just recall it, it relives it. You trigger the same stress, the same heartbeat, the same inner storm. Like a background app running silently, these old mental loops drain your energy before you even brush your teeth. You're not choosing this music. You're simply caught in its rhythm. What's the result? Life becomes predictable, not because you've mastered it, but because you're stuck replaying the same story. Many people believe they have free will, but in truth, they're just reacting on autopilot. A man who was once betrayed finds it hard to trust, not because the present is unsafe, but because his mind keeps projecting old wounds onto new situations. The question is, are you doing the same? Stoicism isn't just about enduring hardship, it's about waking up. Epictetus once said, "You become what you give your attention to." If your attention is trapped in past pain, that pain becomes your identity. What's more concerning is that this happens without you even realizing it. Like a powerful machine infected with hidden malware, your mind, capable of brilliance, runs slow, crashes often, and rarely performs at its best. This idea isn't new. In the Bible, the book of Isaiah says, "Do not remember the former things, nor consider the things of old." Not because the past doesn't matter, but because it loses its power the moment you stop feeding it your focus. What you think about repeatedly, you strengthen. What you turn away from eventually fades. You might say, "But the past taught me valuable lessons." That's fair. But there's a fine line between learning and being imprisoned. If a child falls while learning to walk and never tries again, that's not learning. It's fear in disguise. Step back for a moment. Are you truly living with intention, or just running an outdated script? The goal isn't to erase the past, but to disconnect its emotional charge. Meditation is the tool for this. Not mystical, practical, powerful. When you sit still, close your eyes and breathe, your brainwaves begin to slow. You shift from the noisy beta state into alpha and theta, states where your subconscious becomes accessible. In that quiet space, you can begin to rewrite how your mind and body respond to old pain. This is where real change begins. Take Hungarian scientist Hans Selye, the father of stress research. He said, "It's not stress that kills us, it's our reaction to it." That truth extends beyond stress. It's not the events that shape us, it's how we interpret them. How you respond is your life. Try this. The next time an old memory surfaces, don't resist it. Instead, say softly to yourself, "Thank you, but I live here now." It's not about forgetting. It's about reclaiming authority. Each time you respond differently, you reset one small part of your mental operating system. Ask yourself, if I didn't think about yesterday today, who would I be? If I stopped dragging old pain, old labels, old fears into each new moment, what kind of freedom might I discover? Rebirth isn't loud. It doesn't come with fireworks. It arrives quietly in the early morning when you choose, just once, to think a new thought. When you face an old trigger, and instead of reacting, you pause. That moment, that's freedom. But freedom alone won't last. You need strength to guard it. A kind of inner discipline forged through challenge, shaped by discomfort. You need the mindset of a warrior, not someone waiting for life to change, but someone becoming the change. And that's what we'll explore next. Training the warrior mindset, where courage is not a feeling, but a practice. Where the battlefield isn't outside, but within. Number 4, train the warrior mindset. Morning isn't when you drink coffee. It's when you choose who you are. Some people choose to be victims. Another day, same old grind. Others choose to be survivors, quiet, bracing themselves, just hoping to get through it. But there's a rare third type. Quieter, tougher. The warriors. No noise, no badges. Just this. Today, I fight. A warrior's mindset doesn't come from winning. It comes from stepping into the fight knowing you might lose, and doing it anyway. A Navy SEAL isn't trained just to survive. They're trained to act even when death is standing right next to them. They learn to sever the nerve that ties survival to fear. Because they know, the harder you cling to safety, the easier it is to lose everything. And this isn't just about war zones or deserts in Afghanistan. It shows up in tense meetings, in emails you're scared to send, in decisions that demand ownership. A single mother facing overdue bills and a sick child. That's a warrior. A student defending their thesis, heart pounding but voice steady. That's a warrior. Everyone has their battlefield. The question is, what mindset do you walk into it with? Here's what most people won't tell you. Fear never disappears. It just changes shape. You can't get rid of it, but you can lead it. And the only way to lead fear is to accept it. Do not accept defeat. Accept the possibility of failure and refuse to let it control you. There's a moment in SEAL training you'll never forget. Trainees are bound hand and foot, then tossed into the deep end of a pool. The only way to survive? Stay calm, don't thrash, don't panic, just let go. They don't teach you to swim better. They teach you to trust yourself in your worst state, and you can use that tomorrow morning. When you open your eyes and know what's ahead, don't say, "I can't handle this." Say, "If I fall standing tall." Look at someone like David Goggins, a former SEAL who was once nearly 300 pounds, broke, and bleeding from running 100 miles non-stop. His strength didn't come from talent. It came from discipline and facing the truth every day. You don't need to be him, but you can learn this. The warrior spirit isn't a gift. It's a choice. And every morning gives you a chance to choose again. One question: if you stopped fearing what people think, if failure didn't scare you, what would you do differently today? That answer? That's your action map. And don't think it only applies to soldiers. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison, unsure if he'd ever be free, but never lost his composure. Psychologist Angela Duckworth calls it grit, perseverance fused with purpose. Whoever you are, whatever you do, grit is something you can build daily. Start simple. Write down what scares you most today. Lay it out on the table like a map. No running, no excuses. Then take one small step directly toward it. You don't have to win, just face it. Tomorrow, do it again. No drama. No need for motivation, like brushing your teeth. You do it because it needs to be done. That's how warriors are made. Some people won't get it. Some will say, just chill. Don't take life so seriously. But here's the truth. People who live on the surface are often threatened by those who go deep. They'll mock you to feel better about their stagnation. Don't respond. Don't explain. They don't live your life. They won't pay the price for your choices. Only you know what you're forging inside. Marcus Aurelius said it best. Just that you do the right thing. The rest doesn't matter. Act, even if your hands shake. Stand tall, even if the ground shakes beneath you. That's freedom. That's real power. If you're still here, you're not like most. You're someone willing to go deeper, to face truths most won't touch. And that's what we respect most about you. Hit subscribe if you haven't. Not just for more content like this, but to remind yourself you've chosen the harder path. And don't stop here. The next part of the video reveals the final keys to building a mind like stone. The mindset of someone who never backs down. Number 5. Discipline and repetition. You can't change your life just by waking up early once. No inspirational quote can rebuild who you are in a single morning. And there is no magical epiphany that will pull you out of old habits unless you repeat something new. Discipline, in the Stoic sense, isn't restriction, it's freedom. Freedom from being ruled by emotions, impulses, and the self-defeating stories you tell yourself. Ever wonder why some people seem to work tirelessly without needing motivation? It's not because they're stronger than you. It's because they've stopped negotiating with themselves every morning. Waiting to feel inspired before you act is a trap. Discipline is how you break the cycle, by doing the right thing again and again until it becomes part of who you are. A Roman soldier didn't learn to stand firm in battle by reading about courage. He learned it by repeating his stance, his breath, his swing, thousands of times on the training field, until his body responded without his mind needing to intervene. So when you face fear, don't try to fix it. Just repeat a small act of courage, small but consistent. Fear doesn't fade by thinking, it fades by doing. Your brain is like soft soil after rain. Whatever passes through it often enough will carve a groove. Every time you let a negative thought walk through, I'm not good enough, I always fail, you deepen that same old path, but you can choose to step differently. At first, there's no trail, just tangled grass, mud, and resistance. But keep walking, and eventually you'll forge a new road. And one morning, without fanfare, you'll realize, I'm not the same anymore. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, tells the story of Mitch Presnick, a man who struggled to build a workout habit. But instead of forcing himself into heavy routines or strict diets, Presnick made an unusual commitment. He would go to the gym every day just to sit there for 5 minutes. No workouts, just show up. He repeated this for weeks. People might have thought he was odd, but Presnick wasn't building muscle. He was building identity, the identity of someone who always shows up. He was reprogramming his brain to believe, I'm the kind of person who doesn't break promises to myself. Over time, those tiny actions led to bigger ones. He started training, increased intensity, and eventually lost over 100 pounds. Not because he forced change, but because he became someone for whom showing up was second nature. Lasting change begins with small choices, repeated consistently until they shape who you are. Are you living by habit or by intention? Ask yourself that, because if you don't deliberately rewire your mind each day, the world will do it for you. Every ad, every scroll, every meaningless conversation, it all rewrites your mental operating system. Discipline isn't just about what time you wake up. It's about what you allow to repeat in your life. Stoicism doesn't praise rigidity. It praises deliberate consistency. Marcus Aurelius didn't fill thousands of pages just to read them later. He wrote them for himself, to repeat, to remind, to train. Even an emperor could lose control if he didn't train his mind daily. In Meditations, he wrote, "Your mind will take the shape of what you frequently hold in thought." So the real question is, what are you repeating in your mind? If you want to start changing, don't start with a grand plan. Start with one small, fixed action each morning. Write a sentence, "I am a person of decisive action." Stick it to your mirror. Whisper it while tying your shoes. Do one thing you committed to in the first 5 minutes of your day after day. You won't notice much in the first week, but after 30 days, 60 days, the most surprising thing won't be what you've achieved, but who you've become. And once you've built that pillar of discipline, you'll discover something powerful. Progress doesn't come from beating others. It comes from defeating your hesitation. It's no longer a race against someone better. It's a relentless battle against the lazy, complaining, quitting version of yourself. And that is the next lesson. When you stop comparing outwardly and start mastering what's within, that's when your real breakthrough begins. Number 6, compete with yourself. Every morning, we wake up and instinctively reach for our phones. We scroll through feeds, see fragments of other people's lives, and the comparisons begin. Someone ran 5 kilometers at 5 a.m. Someone else just mastered a new language. A coworker posts a picture celebrating a promotion, and within minutes, we quietly declare ourselves the losers. But who are we losing to? A curated, polished version of someone else's life on a screen. Over 2,000 years ago, Stoic philosophy recognized this human tendency to misplace our values by measuring our lives against others. It's a pointless game. If you win, you're still lost. If you lose yourself. Epictetus never compared himself to anyone. He was a disabled slave without wealth or status. Yet he considered himself free because he controlled his thoughts. He didn't need to be anyone else. His only goal was to be wiser today than he was yesterday. When we make that same choice, everything shifts. We stop competing with the world and start racing against our limits. Take a simple example. Taylor, 32, a steady office worker, always feels like he's falling behind. It's not because he hasn't bought a house or a car. It's because every time he scrolls through social media, he feels something's missing. One morning, Taylor disconnects for 48 hours. In that quiet space, there's no one to compare to. No one richer, faster, or more accomplished. There's just him, a notebook, and a few questions. Did I understand myself better today? Did I overcome a negative impulse? Did I do one thing I'm proud of, no matter how small? After 2 days, Taylor hasn't become someone new, but he's no longer the man he was 2 days ago. And for the first time in months, he feels like he's living, not chasing. Stoicism doesn't say comparison is wrong. It says comparison with others leads us astray, while comparison with ourselves leads to clarity. Growth doesn't need to be seen. It's like roots growing underground. No one notices, but they're what hold the tree firm in the storm. When you form a new habit, even 5 minutes of morning meditation, drinking water on time, or choosing silence over retaliation, that's a root. No applause. But you know, and that's enough. Sometimes you have to fail against yesterday's self to rise above it tomorrow. That means there will be days when you slip, react from old instincts, or feel weak. That doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're training. A warrior learns nothing from easy wins. Only through falling can he figure out what to fix. So forgive yourself when you falter, but never ignore it. Stoicism teaches that to overcome yourself, you need 3 things. First, honest self-awareness, seeing yourself clearly, no sugarcoating, no excuses. Second, self-discipline, doing the right thing without needing reminders. And third, a commitment to progress, not doing more, just doing it consistently. A simple tool to start this path. Each night before bed, write down one thing you did better than yesterday. Just one, but every day. You'll be surprised at what you're building. So here's the question. If today were your last day, would you be proud of how you lived yesterday? If the answer is no, then you already know what to do. Stop looking outward. Turn inward. The real opponent has never been out there. It sits at your table, sleeps in your bed, and thinks your thoughts. Defeat it not with hate, but with quiet effort, steady resolve, and a will that doesn't need an audience. And when you start winning that battle, you'll learn something deeper. You don't always need to fight. Sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is be grateful for what you've been through and open to whatever comes next. That's the final chapter of this morning's journey. Gratitude and acceptance. But we'll get there later. First, start with the one person staring back at you in the mirror. Number 7, gratitude and acceptance. Many people start their day with a to-do list. Few begin with a feeling far more powerful than any goal. Gratitude. Some might say, grateful for what? I have nothing. But that response reveals a deep misunderstanding. Gratitude isn't a reward for success. It's the foundation that makes success possible. Want to reset your morning mindset? Try this. Before your phone hits your hand, before your brain is pulled into the chaos of the day, sit down and write, I am truly happy and grateful for. Then fill in the blank. But don't just write what you already have. Write what you want, as if it's already yours. I am truly happy and grateful for the work that excites me every day. I am truly happy and grateful for my strong, resilient body. Your brain doesn't care if it's true or not. It cares how you feel when you think it. And that feeling, that spark, is what rewires beliefs, behavior, and outcomes. A friend of mine once hit rock bottom, jobless, divorced, and drowning in debt. He didn't read self-help books or know anything about meditation, but he started doing one simple thing. Every morning, he wrote down 3 things he was grateful for, even on the worst days. At first, it was basic. I'm grateful to still be alive. I'm grateful for a hot cup of coffee. I'm grateful the sun is shining today. 6 months later, he had a new job, stable health, and even started a blog to help others through hard times. Gratitude didn't change his life. What changed his life was choosing to see it through new eyes, the eyes of someone who stopped blaming. Ever wonder why you crave so much? Try so hard, and still feel something's in the way? Maybe it's because you're living from a place of lack. When you think you're not enough, not ready, not worthy, you shut the door. Even when opportunity knocks, you don't answer, because you believe the good stuff isn't meant for you. The more you want, the more you fear not having. The harder you push, the tighter fear grips. But have you tried giving? Not stuff, energy. A thank you, a helping hand, forgiveness, being fully present with someone. Here's the twist. When you act like someone who already has enough, you slowly become that person. Seneca once warned, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." The grateful person, even for a simple meal, will always feel life is generous. Japanese entrepreneur Kazuo Inamori, founder of Kyocera, once said, "I've always believed that no matter the circumstance, disaster or blessing, one should embrace things with a heart of gratitude." He wasn't a Stoic, but he lived its essence, to act from a place of inner abundance, not fear of lack. When you begin with gratitude, you stop acting out of escape and start acting out of expression, and somehow life responds. One way to bring your mind back to a state of enough is to create a short morning ritual. Write down 3 things you're grateful for, no matter how small or silly, and 1 thing you're ready to welcome. Not a goal, not a wish, something you're open to receiving. Write, "I welcome a day full of energy and pleasant surprises. I welcome meaningful connections." Over time, you stop running on the fear of not enough and start moving with the trust that everything arrives right on time. Here's a question worth asking. If tomorrow you only had what you were grateful for today, what would you have left? Gratitude doesn't make you naive. It makes you clear. It reminds you that you already have so much. And when you start from that place, every step is lighter, steadier, and deeper. Don't wait until you have it all to be grateful. Be grateful as if you already do, and the world just might meet you there. Don't put it off. Write 1 sentence now. "I am truly happy and grateful for." Then let your heart fill in the rest. This isn't a mental trick. It's how you reboot your entire belief system, starting this morning, and no one else can do it for you. We've just explored 7 powerful ways to reset your mindset, not to become someone else, but to return to the strongest, clearest version of who you already are. From understanding how your brain operates to replacing limiting thoughts, cultivating discipline, competing only with yourself, and embracing each moment with gratitude. Each lesson is a small shift, but practice daily. These shifts can transform the way you move through the world. Stoicism doesn't promise a life without struggle. It teaches you how to stand tall within it. With emotional control, inner discipline, and a mindset rooted in appreciation, you'll learn to greet each morning not as something to survive, but as something to honor. If this message resonated with you, consider acknowledging it, not just for the algorithm, but as a small act of saying yes to your growth. And if you feel called, share what part spoke to you most. I read every word. This isn't just a message. It's a space for people who are learning to lead from within. And you? Are you ready to begin?